I was like, F America, I live in Japan.
I'm moving to Japan! Ah!
I am in Japan.
10 things I love about Japan.
Japan. The Western world loves everything about this country. What not to love? Nature, with its incredibly beautiful landscape, clear waters, and wonderful cherry blossom trees. Modern cities with streets so clean it seems like they wash them every night. People, always polite, hardworking, living in order, and showing mutual respect and social responsibility. Food. Japanese cuisine is probably the best one out there. Always fresh, so diverse, and so mouth-watering. And of course, technologies. Everybody knows Made in Japan sign means highest quality and reliability. I'm sure you've seen hundreds of videos praising those sides of Japan. But is it really so utopian? In 2023, Japan has seen over 21,000 suicides. You might think it's not a lot, considering the population of over 124 million recorded that year. But this number averages to 17.5 suicide cases per 100,000 population. In comparison, for the same year, the United States saw around 49,000 suicide cases among 334 million population. This averages to 14.6 cases per 100,000 people. Or take Germany with its 83 million people. In 2023, it saw just over 10,000 cases of suicide, average of 12.5 per 100,000 population. In fact, Japan is placed in the top 3 among the first world countries based on suicide rate, with only Belgium and South Korea ahead of it. You see, suicides are so widespread in Japan that there are even places that are favored by the committers. The most famous one is Aokigahara Forest, also called the Sea of Trees, located right along the edge of Mount Fuji, roughly a 2-hour drive west of Tokyo. Aokigahara Forest is one of the world's most frequent suicide sites, and at some point, so many people went there to end their lives that Japanese officials have stopped publicizing the exact number of people who died by suicide in the forest. But in previous years, annual numbers were often reported to be around 50 to 100 people. The trend is terrifying, but why nobody talks about it? You should know that the topic of suicide is considered a taboo in a regular conversation for the Japanese people, along with some other topic, Johatsu. Johatsu is a term which literally means evaporation. It is used towards those who purposely vanish from their established lives without leaving a trace. It is someone who simply walks away from their job and their family and starts a new life somewhere else with no evidence of their whereabouts. It has been estimated that up to 100,000 people in Japan disappear willfully every year. This is, of course, by no means unique to Japan. In many countries, people leave everything behind to start anew. However, the phenomenon is so common in Japan that a whole industry exists that helps people with Johatsu. Such companies are called yonigeya or night movers. For a fee, these companies assist Johatsu with logistics of moving a person and their possessions late at night to a new location, hence their name. Night movers can also refer people on to lawyers or counseling services, helping them starting a new life. As far as the legal grounds for these companies go, as long as they're not assisting in a criminal act, it is not illegal for them to assist someone in running away in the middle of the night. But why would someone just decide to disappear one day? People leave their established lives for various reasons: difficult family situations such as divorce, domestic violence, depression and desire for isolation, or a financial debt. Another common reason is a shame for a job loss. Losing a job in Japan can condemn a person's family to disgrace. You see, the concepts of honor and loyalty in Japan take very intense and rigid forms. As an employee, the Japanese worker is expected to be loyal to their company. It often means staying in the same corporation or even at the same position for decades. Quitting can bring shame not just on an individual, but also on their family. Leaving your job is not just a career move, but a social transgression. It is a betrayal of a company. It is dishonorable. On top of that, there is intense pressure to conform. Speaking out, raising objections, or breaking the so called harmony is socially discouraged. Speaking of harmony, in Japanese language it's pronounced wa. Wa is a cultural concept which implies a peaceful unity and conformity within a social group. Members of such a group prefer the continuation of a harmonious community over their personal interests. You will notice how wa is applied in a day-to-day life a bit later in the video. Japanese businesses and employers encourage wa in the workplace. Another common thing they encourage is overworking. Employees often work 10 to 12-hour shifts with mandatory unpaid overtime and only a single day off per week. This inevitably leads to sleep deprivation, chronic stress, and depression. Add social pressure to conform and to hide mental health struggles, and you will get karoshi. Karoshi is a Japanese term which can be translated as overwork death or occupation related sudden death. In plain language, it means working so hard for your employer that you pass away from stroke at the age of 45, sitting in the office at 1 a.m., trying to figure how to increase your product sales by 5% in the next quarter so that your manager can claim credit for your effort, get his yearly bonus, and maybe take you to izakaya for drinks one night and expense it to the company. Oh, wait, you wouldn't be able to attend that. As for causes of karoshi deaths, the most common ones are heart attacks and strokes due to stress and malnourishment. But despite all those factors, the identity of a worker or salaryman is almost sacrificial, working not for personal gain, but for the company, for the group, for one's superiors. Closely tied to work culture is the normalization of heavy drinking among salarymen. After long days, employees are often expected to go out with their colleagues or bosses, drinking together in izakayas or karaoke bars. It is called nomikai, from nomi drink and kai session. Together, nomikai, a drinking party. But it's a bit more complex than just a simple party. You see, when invited to nomikai, you can't really say no. Wa, remember? Don't break the harmony. Once arrived at the bar, you can't just sit anywhere you'd like. Moreover, the seats are assigned based on hierarchy. The best seat goes to the most senior employee, and the worst one to the most junior one. Throughout the night, juniors should keep an eye on everybody's drinks and top up the glasses of seniors. It is also considered a bad manner to refuse an offer to drink. Sometimes it means drinking all night and going straight to work the next morning. As a result, it is not uncommon to see intoxicated salarymen passed out on the streets, train stations, or sleeping on sidewalks in full business attire. Drinking in a Japanese company is a part of the social contract. Loyalty, submission, and bonding are expressed through drinking. While things are getting better nowadays, especially in modern, non conservative companies, the phenomenon is still alive. Criticism or refusal to participate can risk one's job or reputation. But it's even worse for women employees. Gender inequality in Japan is deeply rooted. Discrimination pervades employment, education, and politics. Women in Japan earn substantially less than men even among full-time workers, and often put to temporary or part-time positions with even lower compensation. There were only 13 female CEOs among Japan's top 1600 companies as of 2024, which is less than 1%. In 2025, Japan ranked 118th out of 148 countries in the world based on the gender pay gap. Women are also expected to give up their career and abandon their jobs when they get pregnant because it is considered that they will focus on household duties instead. If that's not enough, you should know that Japan is the only country that legally requires married couples to have the same last name. It can make it difficult for women to maintain consistent professional identities and records. This is the tip of a much bigger iceberg, however. Misogyny, topped with the sexual violence towards women, is a widespread problem. Over 95% of incidents of sexual abuse in Japan are not reported to the police. Discussing rape in Japan is perceived to be embarrassing, while survivors often fear being disbelieved, shamed, or pressured to settle out of court. Those who reported sexual violence described the criminal justice process as re-traumatizing, involving invasive questioning and reenactments of the crime scene. Police often do not investigate properly, frequently attempting to dismiss cases, pressuring victims to withdraw reports, or suggesting settlements with perpetrators. Japanese courts and judges have also been criticized for handing out light sentences and acquitting perpetrators. Lack of systemic support for counseling, therapy, and public services, as well as abortion inaccessibility, adds to the list. Just recently, Japan changed the law to expand the definition of rape, removing the requirement for prosecutors to prove the victim was incapable of resisting. But what's more terrifying is the age of consent in the country. It was 13 years of age for a long time and was raised just recently to 16 years of age. But why was it so low in the first place? You should know there is a special place in Japan for objectification of women and especially young girls. It is not uncommon to spot a middle aged man in the company of a young woman, something called enjokosai or compensated dating. A person, usually male, pays money for a time with a female. This often involves high school girls and underage girls. There is a street in Tokyo known as JK Alley or Schoolgirl Alley from the Japanese Choshikosei, meaning high school girl. There, teenagers in school uniform sell their time to passersby. Men pay to hold hands, go for a walk, or have a cup of coffee with the girls. Some others pay to sleep on the girl's lap. This is all legitimate, above board, and legal. Sometimes men can also pay for walking dates, time with the girls away from the cafe. What happens in that time is up to the girls and their clients. Japan is a home to around 300 JK cafes, where adult men pay to hang out with underage girls. You can also find specialized salons selling used women's and girls' underwear out in the open. The sexualization of underage characters and the portrayal of sexual assault as romantic are prevalent in popular media like anime and manga, portraying female characters as naive, often with childish faces, but with the body of a mature woman, and being joked about sexual harassment promotes sexualization of minors. Until 2014, child pornography was legal to own in Japan. The law has changed, but the sexualization of minors continues. Another problem is non-consensual filming in public space, such as trains, as well as public washrooms, and even hidden cameras in hotel rooms. This has been such a big issue in Japan that the government has mandated for every mobile phone and smartphone to make a shutter sound when the picture is taken, even if the phone is on silent. Add the circulation of an adult material that is often left unprosecuted. All these elements are plain demoralizing the gender. Japan is often seen as one of the best, if not the best, country by many foreigners. Surely, there is a lot to like about it at the first glance. But Japan has a lot of problems: population decline year over year, social isolation, extreme forms of loyalty at work, alcohol consumption problems, spread of misogyny, and an absolute horror of child sexualization and pedophilia are just some of them. Situation is slowly improving nowadays, but it would take generations to eradicate the problems mentioned. Thanks for watching.